I would challenge women to notice their responses when their husband does get emotional. Just go inward for yourself. And when he is any emotion other than the stoic man that he typically is, what's your response? Because that's where women say, I want him to be emotional. But then when he does go and show emotions, you actually end up shutting him down.
Do you want to wake up feeling like you're stepping into who you're meant to be, into the best possible version of you? What if I told you that the key to your best life, health, and happiness are all around you? You just have to find what works for you. I'm Hope Pedraza, and I believe that there isn't just one way to live a healthy and meaningful life, and that all you need is a little inspiration to make changes that last from the inside out. Each week, I'll be sharing tangible tips and inspirational interviews to help you on your journey. These are the steps to take to improve your life and live with purpose. This is Hopeful and Wholesome. Hey y'all, welcome back to Hopeful and Wholesome. I have on the show with me today, Alex and Hannes Nickel. They are relationship coaches working with couples and individuals to improve their communication, understand each other better, deepen their connection to not only have fallen in love, but grow in love. Alex has her master's in counseling and has been in the coaching space for over 9 years, working with over 700 clients. Hannes is actually an engineer by trade and provides a man's perspective into personal growth and the dynamic of the relationship, which I love that we're getting both sides of the coin here, y'all. They've transformed their relationship into something deeper and more fulfilling than they ever thought possible and are on a mission to share it with as many people as possible. And I have both of them on the show today. I love when I'm able to have couples on the show. It's only happened a couple times, but this is such a fun conversation because they do give equal perspectives, the men's and women's perspectives on relationship. We're going to talk about communication. That's really a big one we're going to cover today. I encourage you to share this with your friends and share this with your partners. Like I said, Hannes is on the show too, and he's going to give the men's perspective on this. So for your friends, your family members, those in your life that have partners, spouses, we're in relationships, this is such a crucial conversation. We're talking about communication. We're talking about growing together, even when maybe people are kind of on different paths as far as personal development. I love them. I love this conversation. We could have talked for hours. Let's jump in. All right, y'all. Let's jump in. It's not every day I get 2 for 1. And Alex and Hannes are both here with me, which I'm super excited they're both able to join. So thank y'all so much for spending some time with us on the pod.
Yeah, we're happy to be here.
Yeah. Okay. So I want to first kind of start with you're both relationship coaches, like I said in the intro. And I want to know, because I know, Hannes, for you, this is not like, you're not a relationship coach by trade, like, right? You were an engineer by trade, right? So I'd love to hear, you currently still are. Yes. Okay. So I'd love to know just kind of the path that brought you to this space where y'all are helping couples at the way that you do.
All right. I'll lead it off. So I am, as you said, still an engineer by trade. I think this whole journey started with probably around 5-6 years ago when Alex started her self-development story or journey and pulled me along. In the beginning, it sure felt like pulling along, and we realized we were both open to it. And we realized pretty quickly that what we had, which is what I hope everybody that's in a relationship feels, is that it's very special. But we did just start talking about deeper things and how we as a couple could grow together, but also as individuals. And I think pretty quickly realized that other couples needed that as well. Mm-hmm. With that side, I think we're both very intuitive when it comes to our own feelings, but also each other's feelings and how to bring that not just to women, but also to men.
Mm-hmm. That's really important. Yeah. Do you want to add to that?
Yeah. So I think a lot of women can relate that women end up being the ones that are on the personal development journey first, or that you feel like, okay, I'm doing this work. Like I'm leaning into wanting to improve myself, change the way that I think, believe that I'm capable of anything. Like I feel like women, are just more naturally leaning towards that. And there was this period of time where I felt like I was taking off on this revolutionary aha moments, these times where I'm just like, wow, this is from my childhood and this is from this. And like, I'm realizing all of these things, like why I'm acting the way that I am and why I get triggered and paying attention to that stuff so much. And I felt like he wasn't coming on that with me, and that he does CrossFit and he wanted to talk about CrossFit and sports, and like our conversations for a while were, when I started to grow, I started to feel like things were like more surface level than what I wanted. And I think as I was, like I'm saying, I'm realizing my triggers and my childhood wounds, my sisterhood wounds, like all of these things, and how it's affecting my relationship. Because at first I was doing it for myself, but then I started to see like, oh, I'm projecting onto him. I'm starting to notice the patterns that, and taking responsibility for myself. And I think there was a point where, I wanted him to like come on this journey with me, but the way that I was going about it was, it didn't draw him in.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
In a really simple way. Like she would send me podcasts or books
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
or videos on Instagram.
Yeah.
And I think we both then realized like I wouldn't act on those
Right.
Yeah.
because you have to go find your own journey.
Right.
And it took both of us a little bit to understand, like, I didn't feel like she was bothering me with it, but it was like, hey, do this, do that. And I was like, but it doesn't feel right. And then once I found my own, like the books and podcasts that I enjoyed that actually brought me value, then I went on my journey. And it is completely different than hers. But there is an overlapping of it where both of us grow together.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah. And I think that's what I wanted to ask, because I hear women talk about this. So, because like you said, it is typically, mostly all the time, I don't want to like make any generalities, but women are typically the ones that go on this self-development journey first, or they're more whatever. But so what happens when, and I feel like y'all can both speak to this, because like you said, and I think that's true. You made such a good point. It's that it's like you're both on your own journey. And I think that's the first important thing to recognize, is that you're not going to be on the same journey, right? As a couple, like you grow together, but you're still on your own separate journeys. But so, what would you tell couples who, maybe they feel like they're kind of growing apart because one is on this kind of personal development trajectory and the other one is not. And like you said, it's like, okay, well, now we kind of have this surface level relationship, if you will, right? And so how do you kind of bridge that gap and continue to like grow together while you're not on the same path necessarily? Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. So one of the things that I started doing, like when I felt that he wasn't as open to it, but I could see his potential. So I think when you can feel that, like there is depth there, but like guys have never had someone model this for them for the most part, but what I started doing was I would learn something, and instead of telling him like, hey, I think you should do this. Hey, I think you should do that. I would say, I learned this today. I just want to process and like talk it out loud with you. I don't need your feedback. I don't need advice. I don't need anything. I just want to talk it out so that it helps me learn. And I think just by not putting so much pressure on him to make the changes, but it's just like, I learned this. I thought it was really interesting. I'd love to hear your thoughts, is so much less confronting than the woman learning something and being like, hey, you need to go do this, like, or you need to change this, or why don't you do this? Because then it's more like attacking and like,
it's like, it's a soft start, right?
Yeah.
You're giving your partner the opportunity to act on it when they're ready. Or if you put them in a position of, hey, I saw this, let's do this.
Right.
You don't really have the time to either process or then decide on what that means for them, or like feel what that means for them. But if you just present them with whatever you've learned and then let them think about it, it gives them some time too. And then if they're ready, they will step up to the plate. And if not, they'll think about it a little longer.
And I think what you were saying though, of like, are they growing apart, or like, could they be growing apart? Like that's like for you, like how much are you willing to like self-sacrifice to like try to get this person to come And like, are you like feeling like you have to like pull them along?
Right.
Or is it just like you can tell that they're not used to being vulnerable, that they're just uncomfortable with it, or that maybe you caught them off guard, or the timing wasn't right. And so Hannes brought up the soft start. And it's something that we have our clients do, that when you have something that you want to talk about, whether it's the bills or your sex life, that it's not when they just walk in the door, the day has been stressed, and you like it's been on your mind. Like a lot of women, like we're deep thinkers, and we're like thinking about this a lot.
All the time.
Yeah, all the time. And for men, they're so much better at compartmentalizing things. And so if you've been thinking about it all day, and then your husband comes home from work and you just got home from work and you just go, bleh. And
Yep.
you
Word vomit all over him. Yeah.
Yes. You word vomit everything that you were thinking. And he just, for a man, that is like I don't want to, like all couples need a soft start for something where you're not running out the door to an appointment and saying, oh, hey, by the way, I'm pissed at you for blah, blah, blah. Like,
Right.
and then you have no time to even think about it or to have a clear, reasonable response, or to even like tap into like the emotion of that at all, that you immediately get defensive. And so it could be like your timing of bringing up a topic or giving feedback on something. It does matter a lot to give the space to say, hey, I want to talk about something, let me know, or like, can we set aside time this evening for the two of us to talk about this?
Yeah.
And just like kind of giving the intro to it, because I think otherwise you're jumping into things and it makes sense in your head because you've been thinking about it all day. But to them, it's not top of mind.
Right. Yeah, for sure. How important, or maybe let me ask it this way. Communication is obviously a big deal in relationships. And I feel like my husband and I talk about this all the time. Like, I feel like this is one of the biggest downfalls for couples, is just lack of communication. Yeah. So do you have any, like, I don't know if strategy is the right word, but just your insight on like communication, like best practices from each perspective, like from a man's and from a woman's perspective on, communication and like peaceful communication, all that surrounds that.
Yes, I think it's the most important part of the relationship. Because if you do not communicate clearly and well, you're just not talking. Really.
Yeah.
Like you might be talking, but you're not actually, like, nothing is getting to the other side.
Right.
Obviously, female and male communication is very different. Just the way we think and the way we perceive things. But what we've learned is to truly understand what's going on for the other person. Like, I know she has a list running through her head all day of things that need to be done and all kinds of things.
Who needs to get the toothpaste? What?
Yeah, all these small things where they're
The
not on
important
the top of they're not on the top of my head, like my mind. But I think it comes down to how can you support each other and then communicate that clearly. And for a woman, typically that means to tell the husband exactly what she wants. Like, if you get offended by that, that's a different issue that needs to be
right.
helped. But it comes to, you need to be very clear, because the husband will not, like, if you say something around the area of what you want, but not very clearly, your husband's going to take that indirect and take it as the full face value, which is not what you actually want.
Right.
I have a couple examples. So
yes,
for my birthday last spring, at some point months before, I had said to him, hey, I would love if you planned a trip, like a weekend trip for the two of us to go away for my birthday. I don't want to know any of the details. You can't do it wrong. I want you to plan everything start to finish, like where we're going for meals, going out for coffee, where, all the hotel, how we get there. I would love it. I would feel so good and so taken care of if you planned everything start to finish. And that was several months before. And I had also said something along like, I would love sometime if you just surprised me with concert tickets. Like, don't even tell, like, my favorite artists. You don't have to tell me, but that you just surprise me. And that would be so fun. I would love to receive that surprise. And he did both of them. And but before, what I would say would be like, oh, it'd be so fun for us to go away for the weekend.
And he's like, yeah, cool.
And his mind, he's like, yeah, it would be fun.
Yeah.
Or it'd be so fun if we went to the Trevor Hall concert, and he's like, yeah, that would be fun.
Yeah.
And women, like, we are literally like, Christmas is coming up. I think this episode's getting released before, but like, we're already scanning, like, since probably September, we're like scanning for like, ooh, what gifts can we buy? What are people saying? Oh, they like this. They want this. Oh, they made that comment. And if there are men listening to this, just to let you know, when your wife does drop hints like that, when you're out walking around saying like, oh, this is cute. Oh, I really like this. Like, mental notes, people.
Right. Right.
But that's what women are doing at all times, because women are nurturers. Like, we are, it is in our DNA to nurture. And so we are constantly scanning the environment and looking at how, like, we are more intuitive on the sense of like, we notice when, like, I know when he doesn't like a meal that I make, I could just from the way that his tone of voice and his body language. But then what comes down, like, your question about communication is like, women assume that men think like women.
They do. Mm-hmm.
And assume that women think like men.
Mm-hmm.
And we don't.
Yeah.
Women, like I said, we're scanning our environment, and we are picking up on all these little cues, and we're dropping hints, and we think that we're being obvious. But to a guy, it's not. Like, literally have to say, I would love it if you would do this for me.
Yes.
And then when he does it, that you do feel so taken care of, so happy, so grateful that he actually followed through, and it just feels so good, instead of like, but I had to tell him to.
Right. That's what I was going to say to Hannes's point when he was saying, like, if you get mad that you have to ask, that's like another problem, because I think that's what happens a lot of time. And I've had friends and family members talk about that. Well, I always have to ask him to blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, okay, like, what's the big deal about asking him to do something? Like, if you need help, you ask for help. And I think so many women struggle with that. They just assume that they'll either take the initiative or know what they, I think that's a huge point of contention in a lot of couples.
And it's part of the communication again, too, right? Like, you have to communicate to your husband what you like, for him to then want to act on it. Like, if it's just not clear, like, what needs to be done and what you like, why would I or he act on it? Like, if he does not understand what it means to you, like, another example, Alex obviously, we don't like when the kitchen is not clean, but it didn't bother me as much. I don't know if that's how I grew up or that I'm a man. Like, it's just, it wasn't like as big of a deal to me. But then she explained to me, well, if the house or the kitchen is not clean, that resembles what my mind feels like. So now I understand. Okay, if the kitchen looks like a mess, she's a mess for the rest of the day too.
Yeah.
So now I have a incentive where it feels important to me to have the kitchen clean at all times.
But it's the woman understanding, like, why am I asking for the thing that I'm asking? Why do I want him to plan a weekend vacation, and telling him why you want that instead of just, and doing it in a positive way. It takes like 5 extra seconds to reword what you want to say, instead of you saying like, well, you never do that for me, or I wish you would do that for me. That puts someone on the defensive. Like, it would put you on the defensive if somebody was like, you never do that. Like, it doesn't feel good. Instead, and when we are in a relationship, it's so easy to make those like quick off the cuff comments like that. Because it's easy to focus on the things that we don't want. But it just takes like just pausing and saying like, well, why do I want this? Or how does it make me feel when he does help? Or how does it make me feel when he doesn't help? Because if you feel instead of making a comment of like, well, I'm the only one that's doing XYZ, I'm the only one that's cleaning this, I'm the only one that's doing this. Defense, resistance, versus saying like, when you support me with this, like, or I feel supported, or I feel taken care of, or you say like, when you don't help me with this, I feel like I'm in this alone, and I feel like I am not abandoned, but like I feel unsupported. I feel, and so bringing in the why, like what it is that you're looking for, is so much more powerful, because if you think, most men love like sports and analytics and outcomes, like they're more like goal oriented.
Right.
Like what Hannes just said, when he's like, oh, then I understood that I had a goal to like help her keep her mind at peace.
Right.
And for a man who loves his wife and wants to support her, that is like, that's a goal for him. Instead of like, what most men don't realize is asking a question like, hey, how can I help? Like, that's a good man, hey, how can I help? How can I help? But they need to understand that a woman has, like he said, 97 tabs open in her brain at all times, and asking how can I help is adding one more thing to her to-do list.
Yes.
And so instead, the other thing that I guess related to communication was still like, when he's asking, how can I help, instead of getting resentful, it's like setting aside time to have like a team meeting, or like a board meeting, whatever you want to call this, where you do kind of lay everything out and like start over. Because when you've been in a relationship for a long time, you kind of get like pulled into these specific certain roles.
Yeah.
And you don't take time to like, wait, pause, reset, hang on. Like, you've been together 10, 20, 30 years, and you get stuck in these roles, and you're not the same person you were when you got married. And you have different needs and different interests and different things that are going on. You're in a different stage of your life, that we always recommend that people do implement a board meeting at least like once a month, where they're just kind of like laying things out, and like, where it is a soft start, you're just like laying things out in a very neutral way, that like, hey, this is what's going on for me. He can also bring that to the table. This is what's been going on for me. And reset. Because otherwise you build resentment.
Right. Yeah. And it goes back to what you were saying before about communication. Like, that's the most important thing, being able to communicate. I feel like the other piece, though, pulling out from everything both of y'all are saying, is just, I think it's missing in a lot of couples, because like you said, Alex, like, Mitch think like us, they think I think it's really having that understanding how different men and women are. And like, we communicate different, we think different, our brains work different. I think that is a huge piece that people really overlook in relationships.
Yeah. I mean, and the thing, like, you get married and it's just like, well, I figured it out, like your parents, it's, well, we figured it out, so you gotta figure it out. And I like, everyone's doing the best they can with what they have. But when you know better, you have to do better, and understanding how men, like, nobody teaches you how differently men and women think, but how impactful that is on your communication.
For sure. And I know the 5 love languages is something that y'all talk about sometimes too. And I feel like everybody listening I feel like we've talked about it maybe briefly in another episode, but I would love to hear just kind of briefly maybe y'all's take on how to really implement that, and like how that can help cultivate stronger relationships.
So I think you got to start with either taking the quiz and really figuring out for yourself what that means for you, and then listening to your partner to hear what theirs are. Because for a long time, I love physical touch. Like, that's my primary love language. And so I thought showing her love would be by physically touching,
Mhm.
which is not her primary love language.
He
Just
hugging,
a hug.
kissing, touching my leg, rubbing my neck, kissing my neck. And I'm just like, okay, that's nice.
So
Nice. Yes.
you'll need to learn that showing love is not how you receive love.
Right. Right.
Um,
Exactly.
Wait, I feel like you got to say that again because is so important.
Yes. That showing love is how you show love is not how you receive love with your partner. But it will, over time, I believe, it will adjust a little bit.
Mhm.
That by you realize, okay, I am showing her love in different ways that she receives it, and that's how she embraces it.
Mhm.
I also get that rewarding feeling of now there's love.
Mhm.
And so I think your level of where your love languages are changes over time.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
Most likely based on your partner, because that's who you show love and receive love from.
Yeah. For sure.
Well, like he would want to cuddle on the couch years ago, like cuddle on the couch or hold hands while we go for a walk. And this stuff like never crossed my mind. Like I was not a touchy person.
Huh.
I'm like, I love to give hugs. I'm
Yeah.
all for that and stuff. But like,
Yeah.
I didn't realize that I wasn't a super physical touch person. And he would say like, hey, and comes back to communication. He would say to me before we knew about the love languages, he'd be like, you never just do like cuddle up with me, or
Mhm.
you never want to do this, or like you never grab my hand, or
Mhm.
you never kiss me first, or something
Mhm.
like that. And I'd be like,
Mhm.
yes, I do. Yes, I do. And I'd get defensive about it.
Yeah.
And so it's instead swapping that around and saying, I would love it if you would do this. It's literally saying the same thing, creating a different response.
Yep.
So just that little piece on communication. But the love languages is now, years later, really interesting for me to like be looking at this from a higher level view.
Mhm.
Is I think that a lot of mostly women who typically rank acts of service and like words of affirmation are typically pretty high for women.
Mhm.
And this is part of the work that I do with women is that we are so go, go, go in our heads. That's like how we're trained to
Right.
like, that's where we get our worth. That's where
Mhm.
we are giving back to our families. That's where, we're learning to be self-sacrificing in many ways.
Yep.
And so acts of service becomes one of those things that we think that that's how we need to receive love.
Mhm.
It's because that's how we were shown or how we received love as kids, if we want to dive into all of that. But that I really truly believe that when women slow down, when they learn how to rest and turn their minds off, regulate their nervous system, that they are more in their bodies, that suddenly physical touch becomes
Mhm.
a lot more rewarding and just feels so good to give and receive.
Yeah.
But I do think just starting out, like so we talked about with like, what do you do if you and your partner are kind of on different paths?
Mhm.
That I do think starting with the love languages is a really great starting point because that can then you can understand how your partner thinks they are showing love to you because they're typically showing, like Hannah said, they're typically showing love how they want to receive it. And then on the reverse side, you're probably like pushing that away a little bit and resisting that a little bit because you want to receive love in a different way.
That way, right?
So then when you understand, oh, they're showing me love by physical touch, suddenly you're a lot more open to it because that you are like, oh, and it sounds like it's obvious, but like when he puts his hand on your leg in the car, that it's like for him, that's connection. And where, for me, it's like, I want a deep conversation.
Yeah.
I want emotions.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
but for me to then be like, oh, that's just like one of those little moments where he's showing that. And then now he can understand if in the beginning it was like, oh, acts of service, like, oh, she's doing the laundry, she's keeping the house clean, and that, I was doing a lot of those things or like cooking him dinner. And that was my way of showing him love. that he can then receive that a lot more and appreciate that a lot more.
Yeah. Makes total sense. Yeah. 100%. 100%. I mean, there's a lot of awareness involved. Like, I think there's a lot of awareness that has to be present for each partner to recognize these things in each other. And I think that's a big piece of it, is just being present enough to recognize, and this is what she needs, this is what he needs. I think that's a big piece of it too. Just that awareness piece.
And with that being said, when you're not aware or present and like you just push the hand away, or you're like, oh, I don't want to talk about that right now.
Yeah.
Like, you're actually denying love in that.
Yes. Right.
How it's actually really deep.
Yeah.
But it feels like such a small thing, right? Like, it's just like, oh, I don't have time for that right now.
Right.
But it's a lot more when you actually slow down and think about it, what that action actually meant.
Yeah. Yeah. And well, I think, that ends up being, where people get triggered and then resentment builds because your partner's been denying how you want to show love when it's not the way they receive it, and the whole thing. I mean, that's huge. The emotional piece I wanted to ask you. So, like you were saying, women, obviously, I think we know this, women are more emotional than men. So I think this is a piece too. I feel like there's like, there can be friction, when in a partnership, you have, women, a lot of us, not everybody, but a lot of us, we do want the deep conversations. We want the men to share things and be vulnerable and, all of those things. And it's not all men are forthcoming with those kind of things and sharing their emotions. So what are y'all's, and if you have different answers, that's cool too. But like, what are y'all's suggestions? Like, how do you navigate that piece where, the man in the relationship doesn't necessarily want to be open and emotional or feel comfortable enough to,
I think, again, it needs to be very clearly communicated when you as a woman come to your husband and say, hey, I have something I need to tell you. And you need to say, do you want my advice? Do you want me to hold the space for you? Like, just be there for you? Or do you want to find a solution together? There are three very different things. And depending on how you as a woman feel, you will need to let your husband know how he needs to act in that way.
Right.
Wait, because a lot of times, guys, I mean, I think both men and women, like, we tend to jump into like, we want to solve it.
Yeah.
We want to fix it. We want to help. We want to give our input. And I think for ourselves and the couples that we work with, like, implementing just saying what you need can help shift the space. Because like, we've had couples where, they get into an argument and they talk it out, and he comes with the solutions, and then he's like, okay, things seem like they're okay.
He's like, oh, I
Like,
fixed it.
Yeah, okay,
Yeah.
we're good. And then he wants to like leave the conversation, and she's like, whoa, we're like done. And it's because like it was the tone or the intention wasn't set before you have the conversation. And I think it does take a little bit of modeling of what you're looking for. And then you were going to say something else.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Coming to the men's side, and this might be an unpopular opinion, but I think it's a lot more complicated than a woman's feelings. Because we have learned in Western society, we grow up with big boys don't cry. Like, you don't show your emotions.
Yep.
Unless they're like, it's excitement, right? You're allowed to show excitement, but even that sometimes you're not allowed to show it.
Yeah.
And it comes down, and it's hard to start from scratch or from zero, but like, your husband needs to trust you that he can share his emotions and his feelings, that you are a safe space.
Yeah.
And then that is the first step, but it's also that you need to have the conversation that when he feels emotions, that he shares them with you, and that it's going to be okay, and that you're not judging for it or attacking or like putting him on the defensive side. Like, let's just say he gets upset about something, and instead of acting on it upsetness, you say, can we talk about why you're upset? And creating that space where he can then process, what are the feelings that I'm actually feeling? Because if you never talk about them, they'll feel them, but they don't know what they mean. And
Mhm.
it takes a long time, I think, to truly break them apart and understanding where the triggers are coming from and
Yeah.
what type of different feelings they are.
Yeah.
I
Well,
think a lot
especially
of,
if you grow up, like you said, with big boys don't cry and they're growing up
yeah.
not feeling safe to share them. Yeah.
Mhm.
And like a sad and anger might come out as a similar feeling in your body,
Hmm.
but you can't pick them apart or keep them apart because you just know there's a feeling and I stuff it down right away.
Hmm. Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
but I think it does come down to creating that safe space.
Yeah.
And that might take a little bit of time
Hmm.
and it
Well,
might take some time to open up for the guys. But when they feel that it's safe to do so, I think it goes very quick.
Yes.
and I would challenge women to notice their responses when their husband does get emotional.
Hmm.
Just go inward for yourself, and when he is any emotion other than the stoic man that he typically is,
Mhm.
what's your response? Like, do you get, like, when he's sick, let's go there. Like, when he gets sick and people are like, oh, it's the man cold.
Yes.
And are you like, are you annoyed when
Right.
when he's showing something other than
Right.
being the stoic, manly man you want him to be?
Hmm.
Because that's where women say, I want him to be emotional. But then when he does go and
Yep.
show emotions,
Yep.
you actually end up shutting him down.
Yeah.
You're like, no, it wasn't that way. Like, if he
Mhm.
tells you he was upset with you and you're like, well, I didn't mean it like that.
Mhm.
I didn't say that. And
Yep.
it's not, you're not taking responsibility for the contribution that you had. Like, that's where you get defensive, but like, you're shutting down his expression in that moment, even
Right.
though like you don't like it.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
doesn't feel good. But if he's like, hey, this really bothered me or this upset me, that's his little tiny step into showing or expressing his emotions.
Mhm.
And we got to just pay attention to like, where and when am I shutting him down on that?
Right.
Or like when he
Right.
does get a cold and he is feeling down, he's not feeling his best. And you're just
Mhm.
like, oh, get over it.
Right.
Because so many women then are like, well, nobody does that for me.
Uh-huh.
But if you want to open your relationship to have more of that emotional connection, like, you do have to, like, you cannot change, you can't force someone to change.
Right.
You can't make your spouse do what you want them to do, but
Yeah.
you can change how you respond and how you act in the situation. And that has to shift the dynamic because
Yep.
you're shifting your energy. And so then, like, you just have to ask yourself, like, am I, like, would I rather, we say this all the time, like, would I rather be right or would I rather have love? Or would I
Mm.
rather like shift the energy and see what happens?
Yeah.
Because otherwise, you keep your walls up, you keep protecting yourself and from like it not being reciprocated, or so, you do this tit for tat thing.
Mhm. Yep.
And instead, it's like, okay, but if I want this to change, I have to change how I'm responding.
Right. Right.
Because
Yeah.
otherwise it won't. Like, you can't
Right.
just wait for him to suddenly be more emotional or express himself more. Like, you also have to look at like, okay, well, what can I do for myself to
Yeah.
shift that?
That's a big one. I think a lot of women too, it's like they say they want their husband or partner to be more emotional, but then they want to pick and choose which emotions are coming out. It's like, well, then they really don't feel safe to share everything. Either if it's anger or frustration and they're not ready to hold that, that's
Yeah.
a whole other, you know.
Or like, have you ever called your husband a baby? Like,
Mhm.
don't be a baby. And I know I've said it to him before.
Yes.
Or I've even said something not as nice.
Yeah. There's other words you could use.
And that is literally it. Like,
Yeah.
it is ingrained in our psyche, like, of, okay, now he complained about something. And so then I'm telling him, like, oh, don't be a baby.
Right.
Okay. So I just shut down his emotion. I just shut down how he was feeling. I literally just shoved him back in that box of big boys don't cry.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And all you have to do is just not say it.
Yeah. Yeah.
You might think it, but just
Yeah.
don't say it.
Just don't say it. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you think about how many conflicts could be avoided by just not saying it, like,
Oh,
in those
yes.
situations, you know?
Yeah, this was recent. What did I say? I told myself I wasn't going to say anything. And I held off for like 30 minutes, and then it was just like it came out. It still came out. I was like, damn, I literally just started that fight. I literally I told myself, don't say it, don't say
Threw
it.
the grenade.
Yeah, I did.
Yeah.
And then when that happens and you are like you're working on this, you are putting forth the effort, and that does happen, you throw the grenade and you
Mhm.
catch yourself.
Yeah.
All you have to do is just say, whoa, hey, like make light of it. Just be like, well, I didn't mean to say that. Hang
Yeah.
on.
Yeah.
Back up.
Yeah.
Forget it. It's okay.
Mhm.
I'm done. Like,
Right.
and literally just like let it be light. Like it doesn't
Yes.
have to be
A big thing.
a big conversation every
Right.
time. You can be like, oh, never mind.
Right.
That was old me.
Mhm.
He's not saying that anymore.
Yeah. Yeah. That's so big. I love this conversation so much. I mean, I could talk to you another 2 hours, but I want everybody listening here. I have one more question I want to ask, but I want to give both of y'all a chance to answer. It's a question I like to ask everybody as we wrap up. But if y'all want to let everybody know where they can find out more about you and what y'all do working with y'all as, a relationship coach and all the fun things y'all are doing.
Sure. So you can find us on Instagram at _Nichols, NICKLS, or the website is alexnickel.com. And we offer one-on-one couples coaching, and I'm currently running programs specifically just for women in this relationship and in relationships that are wanting to do this work and wanting to understand themselves and how they can empower themselves to like shift the dynamics in their relationship to feel more self-confident and in their bodies and present and not have those 97 tabs in their head running at all times, so that they can open themselves up to more intimacy, more connection, and be the woman that they know that they are when life is not so chaotic, but through the chaos,
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
Or the one-on-one coaching, it's really 2-on-2, because it's important to say that there's going to be calls between with both couples, but then also Alex is talking to the women and I talk to the guys.
I love it.
Because there is very different input from a guy compared to if it's just one person or that is feeling working with the couple, right? Like we have both perspectives on relationships.
It's important. Yeah, those different perspectives.
And I just throw this last piece in there that I saw the biggest change in Hannes, what he was saying in the very beginning of like, I found my books and my podcast and this and that, was when we got around other couples that were emulating what we wanted. And there's not a lot of couples out there that are relationship goals truly.
Yeah.
You see people on Instagram and you know that they're just like showing the best of their life. But when we really truly like got into environments and around people that were living how we wanted to be living, that shifted so much for him, because he saw other men and I saw women also, but like he was able to see other men living this way, being more emotional, connecting deeper with their wives. And I think that is like a cheat code for life.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, that's big. I love that. All that'll be in the show notes, y'all. So y'all can check out the links in the show notes for all of that to connect with the Nichols. Okay, the last question I want to ask, I like to ask everybody, and I'll give you each a second to answer. What do you think is the most important thing you can do to live with purpose?
Be yourself. To truly understand who you want to be and acting on those small nudges that your mind or body are giving you, and then actually doing that. And the purpose will come from and through.
Yeah.
And I think for me, it's slowing down enough, quieting the noise, having practices that you do throughout, like whether it's exercise or meditation or tapping or something, going for walks, but that you are spending time alone and that you are quieting your mind, shutting out the noise. You're not like, you're just in your own space, because otherwise you are literally inundated with what everyone else wants you to do, what everyone else is doing, keeping up with the Joneses, what's going on social media, and you don't have your own thoughts.
Yeah.
And if you don't have that, then how could you will constantly be searching for this sense of purpose. So I think for me, it's like, it's getting quiet so that you can be yourself.
Yeah.
Where he's way better at that than I am.
I mean, I think it goes back to what you're saying, the difference between men and women. Like, we've got 98 tabs open. So it's like, I've been talking about this the past 2 weeks, and I did a post about this last week. I got so many great ideas because I'm like, because I'll say I'm like not working or I'm turning it off, but then I'm like, I'm still like doing self-development, or I'm like listening to like do this and be your business. Like, it's like, you don't know how to turn it off. So I'm like, okay, I'm going to start reading fiction books again. I haven't read a fiction book in probably 3 years. So everybody's like sending
recommendations.
Yeah. I will send them to you because I'm like, I need to turn it off. Like, close the tabs down, stop thinking about it. So that exactly to your point, it's like, can you quiet it down? Your intuition's only going to speak in the silence. You're not going to be able to hear your intuition, be yourself, if you've got all the tabs. So I mean, both of these are just, I resonate with both of those things.
Yeah, it's so true. Like, I would say at least once a week, I go for a walk where there's no podcast, there's no music, there's no phone calls. It's literally a silent walk.
Yeah.
And at first it was so uncomfortable.
Yes. I know what you mean. I've been doing the same. It is. It's like painful. Like,
yeah, because your mind wants to constantly be stimulated. And I think finding your purpose, but I also I read a quote, and I'm not saying it right at all, but it was something along the lines of like, purpose comes from peace, or like when you're in a peaceful state. And I'll just leave it at that. Like, find what creates that for you.
Yep. Love it. I agree. I love this so much. I love y'all. And this was such a great conversation. Thank y'all so much for being here and sharing such great insight for couples out there. This is such an important conversation. So thank you.
I also feel like we could have talked for 2 more hours.
Yeah, I know. Maybe we'll do another conversation.
We scratched a little bit of the surface.
That's it. I love it.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for listening to Hopeful and Wholesome, y'all. If you found value in this week's episode, please subscribe on iTunes or wherever you listen to your podcast and leave a review to let me know what you thought. I'd love to know what you find useful in these episodes so I can know how to provide the most value I can to my listeners. And if you have topics you'd like to know more about, I'd love to hear those as well. So shoot me a message on Instagram, Facebook, or LinkedIn. It's @TheHopePedraza, or you can visit my website, hopefulandwholesome.com. Thanks, y'all.